And that's the angle. Here with his thoughts is Victor Davis Hanson, senior fellow at the Hoover Institution. Victor, this is something to see, is it not? The Democrats tried to walk a line here with the excitement of the socialists and ride the wave of the youthful exuberance. But now it's getting a little too close to the bone, is it not?
Yeah, it's the proverbial Dr. Frankenstein thought it was kind of cute to make a monster, and then the monster devoured them. They were the ones that destroyed the border. They're the ones that talked about packing the court, getting rid of the Electoral College, defunding the police. And then these socialists came along and said, well, that's a good start, but you lost the Senate, you lost the House, you lost the presidency, you lost the Supreme Court. We're going to take over, and we're going to go to the next level. Thank you for the boost and the electrical shock to bring us to life, and now we don't need you anymore. That's their attitude. And it's a top-down phenomenon. It's not coming from the middle classes like the Tea Party on the way up. It's the downwardly mobile with degrees in urban areas. And first and second generation Americans, to be frank, Laura, are not fond of the United States that exists. And unlike the MAGA movement, they don't want to work within the system. They want, if they lose, they blame the system. So they want to get rid of the nine-justice Supreme Court. They want to bring in new states. Now they're talking, as you pointed out, about abolishing the Senate. If they can't win by the rules, they don't change. They try to destroy the rules because they're nihilists. It's the history of socialism. They always run as moderates, then they get in power and they rule as communists. That's the truth. And that's what Mondami's, we've seen him in New York with his enemies list and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, so Victor, when you see Manchin and you see glimmers here and there from Shapiro and I mean, they really have no choice here. I mean, they are going to be fully devoured. AOC, I said 6-7 years ago, was going to be the thought leader of the Democrat Party. She is it, right? Right now, there's no one else who's more powerful than she is. So if maybe if you're not in office, you're not going to endorse Republicans. But people like Carville, who's not a dumb person, people like Manchin, obviously not a dumb person. Mars, I mean, they basically got to use their pulpits, their media pulpits, to sell some common sense coalition here.
They are, but the people who are actually in office and want to stay in office, like a Gavin Newsom, he said the other day that capitalism doesn't work anymore. I'm quoting him nearly verbatim. And so a lot of these officials, they have their fingers in the wind and they don't know which way to go. So the people on the outside that are not up for re-election, or their political careers are non-existent, or they haven't rebooted them, they're criticizing this and saying, come on. But the people who think that this is the new wave of the future, they're terrified and they're not coming out. So it's very rare to see an elected official, a senator, a House member, come out as strong as Carville or a Mark Penn or any of those guys, and that's their problem. They need the people in office to take a risk.
Yeah, I mean, take a risk for the future, not only of their party, but the country. I mean, Trump is gone in 2.5 years, right? Trump's not going to be on the scene in 2.5 years. The TDS will probably meld into something else, but presumably they want to exist in a few years. And so when you have these Democrats saying, whoa, 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 why am I on this list, as you pointed out in New York? You're making me an enemy. I think they're starting to realize, and I'm going to play this Hassan Piker prosecution soundbite. I think they're starting to realize that monster is not going to just come for Trump or come for, his followers. They're going to come for them. Let's watch.
Arrest and prosecute and bring about corruption charges for every prominent member of this administration that is engaged in corruption, and prosecute and arrest ICE agents that have also done crimes as well on the job. That would be a platform position that I would want to see from the Democratic Socialists of America.
Don't you love the tie bar, Victor, the proletariat outfit he has on? But that's the rub, is it not? It's not prosecuting Trump. That's to be expected. It's prosecuting America, punishing America.
Yeah, I think part of us as conservatives would like to see them take power, then crash and burn like McGovern, but that's the wrong attitude, because what's socialist in New York or Colorado doesn't say it just there. Mondami can hurt all of us by destroying the financial capital of the world in New York. And if they take control of these cities and they have policies, they destroy all of the United States, even though they act locally, because we're so interconnected. And so nobody wants New York to end up as a third world capital, because it's going to affect us even out here in California or in Texas or Alabama. That's what's dangerous about them. They can do a lot of harm without even getting national power, and they're already doing harm to the country. And so I think as favorable as it would be for Republicans, it's not a good idea to want them to win anything.
Yeah, well, we'd rather run against a true blue socialist because it's a clear line. But for the country, yes, the risk is incalculable. Victor, you're the best.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.